Chapter 6. Birds of a Feather Flock Together. After leaving the Gu family, the two hurried to the city. Some of the vegetable vendors had already packed up and left. Qian and her companion were afraid that the shops would also be closed and that their trip would be in vain, so they didn't dare to delay and headed straight for the grain store. Brown rice is 300 coins per pound, polished rice. Liu Yichuan was shocked to hear the price. It was just brown rice. How could it be so expensive? Was he being deliberately ripped off? However, before he could react, the people around him exclaimed. "What? 300 coins? Shopkeeper, are you trying to rob me?" Customers who had just entered to buy grains heard this and turned back to go to other stores. The shop owner knew his quoted price was a bit high and was just waiting for the other party to bargain. He didn't expect to scare away other customers. His face immediately darkened, and he gave a wink to the side. Two burly men quietly surrounded them from both sides. "How can you speak like that, woman? We're doing business. It's a voluntary transaction. How can you say it's taking advantage of someone's misfortune? You scared away my customer. If you don't compensate me today, you're not leaving." After saying that, her eyes looked at the slightly bulging purse at Liu Yichuan's waist. Qian was stunned. Was this an attempt to forcibly take her away? She swallowed hard, retreated tactically, and bumped into Liu Yichuan beside her. Their eyes met, and Liu Yichuan glanced towards the door, signaling to retreat. Qian nodded. The shopkeeper also noticed, and a burly man moved to the doorway, blocking their escape route. "What do you mean by this, boss? Since you're in business, we're customers too. If we don't want to buy now, are you going to force us to? Even if this matter goes to the authorities, we're in the right." Now that there's almost no one on the street, she's wondering how many people will hear her if she shouts for help. Why bother taking this little thing to the authorities? The officials don't have time to deal with our trivial matters. The boss wasn't afraid at all. His family had connections in the government. As long as no one got killed and there was no one else around, he could easily make up an excuse to get away with it. Qian was surprised that the government was completely ineffective. Liu Yichuan, on the other hand, already knew that when his brother got into trouble, he had also gone to the government. But in the end, the case was simply closed with fines and confiscation of money from both sides for a gang fight between villagers from the two villages. The government is usually inactive, but when it comes to collecting taxes and grain every year, they are absolutely meticulous. If a family fails to pay, not only will they face imprisonment, but it may even affect the entire village. "Is this a small matter? Is there no law anymore? What can you do to me if I don't give it to you?" The shop owner's eyes narrowed, and another employee ran to close the shop door. "Don't move." Liu Yichuan took out a dagger and pointed it at the crowd, while with his other hand he took out a tinderbox from his pocket and aimed it at the cloth bag containing the grain. "If you don't want any losses in your shop, you'd better let us leave." Qian looked at Liu Yichuan, and this ruthlessness was exactly the same as last night, like a wolf cub. The boss's face turned ashen, and he gestured for the burly men behind him to move aside, allowing the two to escape. Qian's face turned pale. She felt like she had stumbled into a gangster's den. Was this how things were in ancient times? It was far too dangerous. The two went to other grain stores. This time, Qian didn't dare to say anything out of line. She just waited for Liu Yichuan to look at the goods and ask about prices. Fortunately, the other stores were all normal businesses and didn't deliberately make things difficult for them. The two ran from the east side of the city to the west side, visiting almost every grain store in the city, and finally bought 10 caddies of brown rice for 200 coins. Qian compared the prices of rice, cloth, and other items she had just inquired about in the city with the prices in the system's online store. She found that the prices in the online store were the local average prices for anything that existed in this world. Buying things in the online store could only save her some delivery fees. However, Qian discovered something else useful. Some modern items were also sold in the mall, such as water and medicine, and the prices weren't too expensive. A bottle of mineral water cost 2 coins, a mask cost 1 coin, and a box of cold medicine cost 14 coins. If we resell these things, wouldn't we make a fortune? Seeing that Gu Qian had been silent since being frightened by the shopkeeper, Liu Yichuan sneered. So timid, yet she had the guts to act recklessly before. Gu Qian was just happy to have discovered a way to make money, but hearing his sarcastic remarks made her unhappy again. They had just agreed to something a few hours ago, and the past was the past, wasn't it? Why bring it up again? When will this end? It's all because you flaunted your money outside. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been targeted. After saying that, he ignored him, who was carrying the grain, and strode forward. You. Liu Yichuan couldn't find a reason to retort for a long time. The shopkeeper did indeed have malicious intentions after seeing his purse, but he hid the purse after leaving the shop. How did she find out? When the two men carried half a sack of grain home, they encountered villagers who cast envious glances at them. It was truly remarkable that even a starved camel is bigger than a horse. After all the troubles that had befallen the Liu family, they still had money to buy grain. Liu Yichuan saw Dr. Qian leading his granddaughter out of his house from afar. Could it be that his father's leg was hurting again? He immediately quickened his pace. Gu Qian watched him walk briskly and couldn't help but praise his youth, strength, and stamina. She was already hungry and tired after traveling for so long, while Liu Yichuan carried the things without taking a break all the way. Since home was right in front of her, Gu Qian stopped chasing after him and walked slowly behind him. After arriving home, she drank a large ladle of water before she could recover. Liu Yichuan was talking to his father inside the house when Gu Qian moved closer to Wangxi and said weakly, "Mother, when is dinner?" Wang glanced at the sky, put down the clothes in her hands, and said, "I'll go cook. Oh, by the way, Langxiang came to see you today." Langxiang? She was the original owner's best friend. It was Langxiang who suggested that the original owner go with the peddler. What does she want from me? It's still a while before lunchtime. I should go and see her. Aunt Li, I'm looking for Langxiang, Gu Qian called out as she arrived at the gate of the fenced yard. Before Aunt Li could call for help, Langxiang came out of the house, pulled Gu Qian inside, and looked around again before closing the door when she saw no one was around. She took Gu Qian's hand and whispered, "Why didn't you leave last night? Didn't the peddler come?" Gu Qian pulled her hand away from him. What kind of friends did the original owner have? They actually instigated her to do something that would ruin someone's future. She said indifferently, "Oh, you really didn't come." She looked at Gu Qian's expression, which didn't seem like she was lying. That peddler is handsome and dashing. He certainly wasn't lying on purpose. Why don't you go and check again tonight? Gu Qian. What does being handsome have to do with character? Does being good-looking make someone a good person? To be honest, the original owner of this body was also someone who cared a lot about appearances. She only followed the peddler because he was good-looking. Birds of a feather flock together.